with President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a f***ing con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician.
The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with.
Gavin Newsom must be sweating bullets right now after his golden boy in the media, Bill Maher, accidentally blew the lid off his shady antics. Let's be clear, Maher didn't mean to torch him, but the damage is done, and now millions see Newsom for the smooth-talking fraud he really is. And guess what? Celebrities are piling on. One of the loudest voices? Joe Rogan. The podcast king roasted Newsom for wrecking California and turning it into a dystopian mess. And yes, I've got all the fire-filled clips. But first, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. You must have seen this clip
on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want to run president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win the? Look at the swing states.
So it's this clip that triggered Gavin Newsom's epic meltdown, the one we're about to dive into. It lit a fuse under the governor's carefully curated image. Now, sure, a few voices like Bill Maher still entertain the idea that Newsom could make a decent president someday. But let's not kid ourselves, millions of Americans think he's far too woke and disconnected to lead the country. This is a man who pushed for policies requiring toy stores to create gender-neutral sections. He also appears to support legislation that would allow teachers to withhold information from parents if their children express a desire to transition genders. That's not leadership. That's ideological extremism. And thanks to Maher unintentionally peeling back the curtain, many are finally seeing it. But Maher wasn't the only one to call out Gavin Newsom's inefficiency. Another celebrity who questioned Newsom's leadership is Joe Rogan. The acclaimed podcaster blasted Newsom for how badly he's handled California so far since he assumed office as governor of the state. He even torched Newsom's aspirations to become president of the country.
With President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a f***ing con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician. Just a stone-cold, narrative-driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and you know that's a human being. With Newsom, you got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person. I don't think people want that, but they might want it more than they want president.
By the time Joe Rogan dropped that video on his social platforms, Gavin Newsom was already spiraling. The pressure was mounting, and his panic was obvious to anyone paying attention. He could barely hold his composure during press appearances, his usual polished demeanor replaced by stammering defensive answers. Bill Maher's takedown had already rattled his base, but Rogan's blistering critique, that sent shockwaves through the system. When two major cultural voices from opposite ends of the spectrum start hammering you publicly, it's not just a PR problem, it's a political reckoning. Newsom, clearly shaken, knew he had to act fast. He scrambled to regain control and save face, especially as tensions escalated across Los Angeles. That's when he suddenly decided to step in and address the LA riots, something he had been criticized for ignoring or downplaying. But at that point, the damage had been done. His actions reeked of desperation, not leadership, and the public saw right through.
Decency, Mr. President, stop. Rescind this order. It's illegal and unconstitutional. And I said it, I'll say it again, it's immoral. You're creating the conditions that you claim you're solving, and you're not. And you're putting real people's lives at risk. This is a serious moment, and it requires serious leadership. And it's time for you to be a commander-in-chief of the United States of America. And I will have your back if you want to work in a relationship of trust and truth in the spirit of our founding fathers. But you come after poor kids, you come after families, we will do everything in our power to stand up and stand in your...
Instead of addressing the growing unrest that followed the ICE protests in California, Gavin Newsom chose a different route. He went on the offensive and threatened Donald Trump. Rather than calming tensions or proposing real solutions, Newsom decided to fan the flames by politicizing the moment. Did you catch how he framed the ICE arrests? He spun them as vicious attacks on innocent children and families. Classic move. But honestly, are we even surprised? That's been the playbook of the woke left for years now. Manipulate the narrative, stir up emotions, and make Trump the villain no matter what. What was actually a targeted enforcement operation against individuals in the country illegally suddenly became, in Newsom's eyes, a humanitarian crisis. It's not about facts anymore. It's about optics and outrage. And Newsom, ever the opportunist, seized the moment to score political points instead of leading with clarity and truth. California deserves better than this political theater. And when he wasn't getting the response that he needed, Newsom dared Tom Homan to arrest him.
Hands off these poor people just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes. Been here 10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Yep, that's how desperate he sounded. Newsom was flailing and he needed the public on his side fast. So what did he do? He played the emotion card hard. He said exactly what he thought people wanted to hear, hoping to whip up public sentiment and paint himself as the heroic defender of the marginalized. He wanted that photo op moment, the tough guy standing up for the voiceless. But scratch the surface. And what do you find? A politician obsessed with optics, not solutions. This wasn't about the people. This was about Gavin Newsom's image. He wasn't an illegal alien, so of course he hadn't committed any immigration crime. And he knew it. That's exactly why he had the nerve to publicly challenge ICE Director Tom Homan, daring him to make an arrest. It was all for show. He knew there was no real threat, which made the entire stunt feel like cheap political theater. Loud, dramatic, and utterly hollow. Anyway, Tom Homan responded to Gavin Newsom's cheap politics.
Before we asked him, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can. So there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. And so, you know, what he's done, he's failed that state. He waited 2 days of that city burning and people getting hurt, officers being assaulted before he made any declaration of an unlawful assembly. He's late to the game. President Trump isn't late.
Tom Homan didn't hold back. He went straight for the jugular, ripping apart Gavin Newsom's empty political stunt. If Newsom truly wanted to be arrested, Homan said, then he should go ahead and actually break the law. Commit a real crime, Homan quipped, and you'll see the inside of a jail cell soon enough. It was a brutal but honest clapback that exposed just how hollow Newsom's grandstanding really was. Homan didn't stop there. He placed the blame for the chaos squarely at Newsom's feet. While the city was burning, businesses were looted, and law-abiding citizens feared for their safety, Newsom stood by, paralyzed. For 2 entire days, he did absolutely nothing. No leadership, no plan, just silence. And when President Trump finally stepped in and deployed the National Guard to restore order, Newsom had the gall to complain. He questioned why Trump acted without his permission, when he had already proven he was unwilling or unable to act at all. But Homan had more where it came from.
Keep hearing this term, ICE raids. What happened with how this riot started is that ICE was serving a series of criminal warrants at a business being investigated for money laundering, customs fraud, and serious violations on sending money to criminal cartels that in Colombia and Mexico that fund criminal cartel activities in the United States. It's a part of an overall conspiracy that ICE is investigating. So we're arresting bad people. We were enforcing laws and following up on a serious criminal investigation on cartel financing. So that's exactly what ICE did. And ICE took a lot of bad people off the street that day. We arrested a sexual predator, we arrested gang members, we arrested somebody that had an armed robbery conviction.
So, let's set the record straight. What exactly was ICE doing? They were arresting criminals. Not families out for ice cream, not children walking to school. Criminals who had built an elaborate money laundering ring funneling cash to violent cartels in Colombia and Mexico. These weren't minor offenders. They were organized operatives funding deadly enterprises. ICE's operation was about national security and public safety. But what did the legacy media report? That ICE was storming homes, tearing children from their parents, and targeting innocent immigrant families. It was a complete distortion of the facts. And guess who led the charge in spreading that narrative? Gavin Newsom. He took the podium and painted ICE agents as monsters, all while ignoring the real criminals being taken off the streets. Instead of supporting law enforcement, Newsom chose to gaslight the public. He knew the truth, but pushing a lie made him look like a champion of the oppressed. It was political theater at its worst. Tom Homan's apt response sent Gavin Newsom into another meltdown episode.
Dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us.
Gavin Newsom still couldn't resist putting on a show for the gallery. Ever the performer, he stepped in front of the cameras, voice quivering, eyes welling up, desperately trying to manufacture a tear or two. It was political theater at its most transparent. You could see right through it, and as if that weren't enough, he started calling on other governors to stand up against Donald Trump, urging a united front of resistance. Against what? Law enforcement doing its job. This is the signature move of the woke left, emotional blackmail without a shred of solid fact. They rely on optics, not outcomes. They stir outrage instead of offering solutions. Rather than address crime or protect communities, they try to shame the public into submission through sob stories and dramatic speeches. Newsom's performance was just another desperate act in a long-running play, one where truth takes a back seat to narrative, and leadership gets replaced by virtue signaling.
I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear. But I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to it.
In the end, Gavin Newsom's performance unraveled faster than he could wipe away his fake tears. What started as a calculated attempt to demonize ICE and position himself as a moral hero quickly crumbled under the weight of facts, backlash, and public scrutiny. Bill Maher unintentionally exposed his incompetence. Mel Gibson torched his credibility, and Tom Homan shredded his political theatrics. Instead of standing with law enforcement or offering real solutions, Newsom chose to pander to the woke mob, spin false narratives, and weaponize emotion. His staged outrage, hollow threats, and desperate attempts to rally other states against Trump revealed a man more interested in image than impact. Californians deserve better than a leader who gaslights his constituents while cities burn and cartels thrive. And now, thanks to a few bold voices, the mask is off. Gavin Newsom isn't a hero. He's just another political actor who finally got caught in his own script. And this brings us to the end of today's video. If enjoyed it, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.